What if one unexpected note in a single act of kindness could change your life forever? Dana adjusted her apron for the third time, her fingers brushing over the frayed edges where the fabric had worn thin from years of use. The smell of roasted garlic and fresh herbs wafted from the kitchen, mingling with the muted hum of conversations and the occasional clink of silverware. It was a Friday evening at La Maison, one of Washington, D.C.'s most prestigious restaurants, and every table was booked solid. Dana thrived in this environment, fast-paced, demanding, and always unpredictable. But tonight felt different. The energy in the air was sharper, buzzing with a kind of tension she couldn't ignore. When the maitre d', a tall, meticulously groomed man named Victor, approached her, his expression was more serious than usual. "Dana," he said, his voice low but firm, "we've got a high-profile guest at table 8. You're up." Her stomach tightened. High profile could mean anyone in this city, senators, diplomats, or celebrities passing through. But as Dana followed Victor's gaze, her breath caught. Melania Trump had just walked through the doors, her entourage gliding behind her like shadows. Dana's pulse quickened as she hurried to compose herself. She knew this wasn't just another table. This was the table. It wasn't just about service. It was about perfection. Every detail mattered. The moments that followed felt like a test of her resolve. She approached the table with practiced grace, a polite smile fixed on her face. Melania was seated at the center, her presence commanding without effort. The conversation at her table flowed in soft murmurs, but Dana caught glimpses of curious glances from other diners. "Good evening," Dana said, her voice steady. "Welcome to La Maison. My name is Dana, and I'll be taking care of you tonight." Melania acknowledged her with a slight tilt of her head, her expression unreadable. Dana felt the weight of the room's attention shift to her as if the entire restaurant was watching this interaction. But she had a job to do, and she wasn't about to let nerves get the better of her. Dana took their drink orders, careful to note every preference and detail. She moved quickly but methodically, her hands steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside her. As she returned to the kitchen to relay the orders, a coworker leaned in and whispered, "Do you think she'll leave a big tip?" Dana shrugged, unwilling to speculate. Tips were a gamble in this industry, even with high-profile guests. She focused on the task at hand, determined to make this shift as seamless as any other. But as she plated the appetizers and returned to the dining room, Dana couldn't shake the feeling that tonight might be different. But little did she know, this was only the beginning of a night that would change everything. The restaurant was alive with its usual symphony of activity. Chefs calling out orders, glasses clinking, and the soft murmur of diners engrossed in conversation. Yet for Dana, all of that faded into the background. Her focus was razor-sharp as she moved back and forth from table 8, delivering drinks, describing dishes, and ensuring every need was met. Melania Trump, though reserved, exuded an undeniable presence. She didn't speak much, yet her every gesture felt deliberate, calculated. The rest of her party followed suit, their voices kept low, their expressions careful. Dana noted how even the smallest misstep, a water glass refilled too soon or a napkin slightly out of place, seemed like it could upset the balance of the moment. Dana's nerves were a quiet hum beneath her professional exterior, but the other diners weren't as subtle. Whispers filled the air, accompanied by not-so-discreet glances in Melania's direction. Dana felt the stares follow her every time she approached the table, as though the entire room was waiting for her to falter. At one point, as Dana leaned over to refill Melania's glass, a voice from a nearby table muttered, "Bet she's sweating bullets." Dana didn't flinch. Years of experience had taught her to ignore the noise and focus on her work. But the comment lingered in her mind, a reminder of how visible she was in this moment, not just to Melania and her party, but to everyone around her. Still, she carried on. Her service was impeccable. She made sure the plates were served at the perfect angle, the wine glasses never went empty, and every request was handled with efficiency and grace. But as the evening wore on, Dana couldn't help but notice a subtle shift at the table. Melania's gaze lingered on her longer than it did with the other staff. It wasn't invasive or judgmental, but curious, as though she was studying Dana, trying to understand something about her. When Dana returned to clear the appetizer plates, Melania's voice broke through the subdued chatter. "Thank you, Dana," she said, her tone soft but direct. Dana paused, caught off guard. It wasn't just the words. It was the way Melania said her name, as if she'd taken the time to notice her beyond the role of a waitress. "You're welcome," Dana replied, her voice steady, though she felt a flicker of something she couldn't quite name. The rest of the meal passed in a blur of activity, but that brief exchange stayed with her. Dana couldn't shake the feeling that she was being seen, really seen, in a way she wasn't used to. But she couldn't dwell on it for long. There was still one more course to serve, and she had no idea what awaited her when the check was presented. As the final plates were cleared, the atmosphere at table 8 shifted. The earlier quiet conversations gave way to soft laughter and the occasional clink of glasses. Melania Trump and her entourage seemed satisfied, their evening winding down smoothly. Dana, ever vigilant, ensured the desserts were served with the same care she'd maintained all night. The restaurant had begun to quiet down, with other diners finishing their meals and preparing to leave. Dana's co-workers cast her knowing glances, impressed by how seamlessly she had handled the high-pressure table. But Dana was too focused to bask in their silent praise. Finally, it was time to present the check. Dana took a deep breath as she approached the table, the sleek leather folder in hand. She placed it gently before Melania, who looked up and offered a faint smile. "Thank you for your wonderful service tonight, Dana," Melania said, her voice calm but genuine. "Thank you," Dana replied, her professionalism intact, though her heart was pounding. "It's been my pleasure." She stepped back, giving them space to handle the payment. The minutes stretched on, and Dana busied herself with small tasks, wiping down nearby tables and arranging silverware, but her eyes occasionally flicked toward table 8. When she returned to collect the check, the party was preparing to leave. Melania stood gracefully, her entourage following her lead. "Have a good evening," Dana said politely as they filed out of the restaurant, her voice steady despite her nerves. With the table now empty, Dana reached for the check. Her eyes immediately fell on the folded receipt tucked inside, along with several crisp bills. The sight of the generous tip brought a small wave of relief, but it was the handwritten note scrawled across the bottom of the receipt that froze her in place. Her fingers trembled slightly as she unfolded it. The words were simple but powerful. "Dana, your kindness and hard work do not go unnoticed. You have a rare grace and resilience that shines through in all you do. This is for you, to take a step toward your dreams." Her breath caught as she scanned the rest of the receipt. The tip wasn't just generous, it was life-changing. A quick calculation in her mind confirmed it. Enough to pay off lingering bills, enough to start saving for the cafe she'd always dreamed of opening. Dana's legs felt weak as tears blurred her vision. She clutched the note to her chest, overwhelmed by the weight of the gesture. For a moment, the bustling restaurant around her faded away, and all she could feel was an intense gratitude that seemed to fill every corner of her being. But this wasn't just a moment for Dana. It was the beginning of something far greater than she could have imagined. Dana stood frozen at the edge of the dining room, the note in her hand trembling as tears streamed down her face. She glanced around, quickly wiping her cheeks with the edge of her sleeve, but the emotion was too overwhelming to contain. A nearby coworker noticed her expression and quietly asked, "Are you okay?" Dana nodded, unable to speak just yet. She clutched the receipt and tipped tighter, her mind racing. The words on the note echoed in her thoughts, each sentence striking a chord deeper than the last. It wasn't just the money. It was the recognition. Someone had seen her. The memory of long, grueling shifts came rushing back. The late nights, the sore feet, the times she'd missed family gatherings to make ends meet. Dana had always done her best to stay positive, to remind herself that her dream of opening a cafe wasn't impossible, just delayed. Yet there had been moments, so many moments, when doubt had crept in. Now, as she stared at the note, it felt like all those sacrifices had been acknowledged, validated in a way she never expected. The realization brought another wave of tears, but this time they felt lighter, filled with a sense of possibility she hadn't felt in years. Other staff members began to notice Dana's state. Victor, the maitre d', approached her, concern etched across his usually stoic face. Dana, what's going on? Are you all right? She held up the receipt and the bills, her voice barely a whisper as she said, Melania left this for me. Victor raised an eyebrow, then took a closer look. His eyes widened as he read the note. Dana, this is incredible, he said, his voice soft but filled with awe. Do you realize what this means? Dana nodded, though the weight of it was still sinking in. I think I do, she said quietly. The rest of the staff gathered around, their murmurs of disbelief and congratulations creating a hum of support that wrapped around Dana like a warm embrace. Even the chef peeked out from the kitchen, his face breaking into a rare smile when he heard the news. But it wasn't just the staff who noticed. A few diners, still lingering over their desserts and coffee, caught wind of the moment. Some clapped politely, while others simply smiled, their faces lit with admiration. Dana felt a surge of embarrassment at being the center of attention, but it was quickly overshadowed by a deeper sense of pride. This wasn't just about her hard work paying off. It was a reminder of what kindness and humanity could mean, even in a world that often felt cold and indifferent. But Dana knew this was more than a fleeting moment. It was the spark that would ignite the next chapter of her life. Dana sat alone in the break room after her shift, the noise of the restaurant now a distant memory. The note rested on the table in front of her, the words etched into her mind. She read it again, this time aloud, her voice breaking slightly as the emotion surged once more. For years she had dreamed of owning a cafe. Not just any cafe, but a place where people could gather, share stories, and feel at home. She'd even sketched out ideas on napkins during her breaks, imagining a space filled with the smell of freshly brewed coffee and the warmth of community. But life had always found a way to push that dream further out of reach. Now, it didn't feel so far away. Dana pulled out her phone and called her younger brother Marcus, who had always been her biggest supporter. Marcus, she began, her voice unsteady. You're not going to believe what happened tonight. She told him everything. The unexpected arrival of Melania Trump, the pressure she'd felt all evening, and the note that changed everything. Marcus was silent for a moment before saying, Dana, this is it. This is your moment. His words struck a chord. This wasn't just about a generous tip or a heartfelt note. It was about what she would do with it. Dana realized that the gesture wasn't just a gift. It was an opportunity, a nudge from the universe telling her it was time to take a leap of faith. The next morning, Dana woke up earlier than usual, a renewed energy coursing through her veins. She spent the day researching small business loans and finding locations for her cafe. She even began drafting a business plan, something she had put off for years out of fear that it would never come to fruition. The note stayed with her, tucked safely in her wallet as a constant reminder of that pivotal evening. Whenever doubts crept in, she would pull it out and read it, letting the words reaffirm her belief in herself and her dreams. Weeks turned into months, and the cafe began to take shape. Dana poured every ounce of her passion into the project, and when she finally opened the doors to her dream cafe, it was everything she had imagined and more. The cafe wasn't just a business. It was a testament to resilience, kindness, and the power of believing in something bigger than yourself. Dana's story spread throughout the community, inspiring others to chase their dreams no matter how far out of reach they seemed. And whenever someone asked her how she managed to make it all happen, Dana would smile and say, sometimes all it takes is one person to remind you that you're worth it. Because for Dana, that night at the restaurant wasn't the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Life can surprise you in the most unexpected ways. Kindness, whether given or received, has the power to change lives. Dana's story is a reminder that no dream is too far out of reach, and that sometimes all it takes is one moment of recognition to spark something extraordinary. If this story moved you, take a moment to spread kindness in your own way, big or small. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.